The bake tool here is a simple and easy motion baker that's fully functional with all of Lightwave's motion types. As you would expect from a motion baker, it takes the current motion on an item and bakes it down to actual keyframes and will operate with everything: IK, constraints, motion modifiers, match goal orientation, expressions, you name it. So we see a simple setup here. We've got this camera using nodal motion, which makes it follow the light's position with a slight offset. And it's also using target item to target this null at the center of the scene there. So of course, as the light moves, we're getting this effect there. We can select the camera, set our bake range. In this case, I'm going from 0 to 100. We can set our step, how often we want a key to be created, every frame, every other frame, say. And once we've entered that, we just hit bake motion and the motion is baked for us. And you can see now if we come back over to our camera, we're able to get rid of the targeting, turn off or get rid of the nodal motion there. And you see that the motion of the camera has been fully baked, no problem. Here we see another situation where we've got motion set up, and in this case it's a parent type of motion. The camera, as you can see, is a child of the light, and so as the light spins, the camera is orbiting around with it, but of course the camera itself is not moving. Ordinarily, of course, if we just bake this motion, then we can see the camera keyframes here and they're all flat because of course there is no motion on the camera. And so we can of course see that if we unparent the camera from the light, then the circular motion is of course lost and the camera is of course just keyed in place. For situations like this, we have the world option available on the motion baker. If we activate that and then hit bake, the motion gets baked into world space and the items are automatically unparented back to top level space, so as the motion is maintained. And you can see there of course that our camera is no longer parented to the light and its circular motion here has been baked correctly. And we can also see that this works not just for single item parenting as we had there, but will also of course work for entire hierarchies like these bones here, which after baking we can see maintain their world position and rotation, despite of course no longer being parented together in a hierarchy. The other option that is available on the bake panel here is the toSkeleton tool, which is a Rigit rig specific tool, and more specifically it is for rigs that are using the bone deform type of rig. Once you have created an animation on such a character rig, you may wish to bake the motion down to the actual deform bones and the deform skeleton. You could do this if you're sticking in Lightwave to make sure that everything is locked and solid, ready for render, and to of course reduce weight and complexity in the scene, have it all speed up. Or of course, if you are wishing to animate a character that's going to be exported either to another application or to a game engine such as Unity and so on, you need to bake out the deformed skeleton. So to use this, we can choose any part of the Rigit rig itself. We don't need to worry about the selection options here. We enter our range as usual and we click toSkeleton. This little selection panel shall then pop up, which gives us a couple of automated little adjustments that we can make on top, such as clearing out the main rig. We do that, only the bones will be left behind. Filter keys, which will apply Euler filtration to our baked key set, sorting out any gimbal flips that have taken place during the bake. And reduce keys. Often, of course, you still have these selections here for the different channels that you might want to use. It's easiest just to bake all of them, rather than, of course, having to pick through what bones have what channel modifiers in need or not. But that will leave you with a lot of extra zero keyframes, often on things such as scale channels or some of the position channels for bones. Reduce keys will of course reduce down your keyframe number, eliminating all of those. We also have this option, clear end bones. With the deform rig, you can of course use it in two modes. You can use it in joints or Z bones. You always have these little tip end bones here that appear at the very ends of chains. Obviously these are needed if the deform rig is in joints mode to complete the joint beneath it, but in the case of Z bones, as I'm using here, and as we might often use if we are wanting to export to a game engine or similar, then those end bones are not needed, and so what we can do is check to have the tool automatically clear those out after baking as well. So with those options set, I'll just click OK, and we see we go through, our rig is recorded and baked, and there we have it. Everything has been cleared out with the exception of course of the bones and the mesh, and we can see that our bone motion there is fully baked, and we're just left with our mesh and all of the bones underneath it. And of course, because I'm in Z-bones mode here, the end joints have been cleared out as well. We can also see the hip or thigh bone is a good point to observe this, that gimbal rotations have been cleanly taken care of, so we get nice continuous curves. And of course, because I have the reduce keys option checked, any areas that got baked, such as the position channels which don't actually move, have been baked obviously, but then reduced back down. And there we have it. That is the Motion Baker tool available on the Curves tab of the Animation Toolbox.